The morning after our wedding, my wife smiled and said, "Real husbands lets his woman quit work and spend freely." Right after $12,000 vanished from our account, I said, "You're right," checked our credit, until a strange man called, asking about an account. So I'm sitting here at 3 a.m. trying to figure out what the hell just happened to my life. Got married last Saturday to who I thought was the love of my life. Been together 2 years, engaged for 8 months. Everything seemed perfect. Looking back now, I realize I was probably ignoring red flags because I wanted this to work so badly. You know how it is when you meet someone and everything just clicks? That was Cassidy and me. We met at a work conference, talked for hours about career goals and favorite hiking trails. She made me a better person, or so I thought. Here's where it gets weird. Day after the wedding, literally the day after, I wake up to find Cassidy on her laptop shopping. Not like browsing Amazon for dish towels. I'm talking Neiman John, Nordstrom, Louis Vuitton. When I asked what she was looking at, she shows me a $3,200 handbag like it's totally normal. "For the honeymoon," she says with this bright smile. I laughed because I thought she was joking. "Babe, we're going camping in Colorado. What do you need a designer bag for when we're sleeping in a tent?" That's when she drops the bomb. "Oh, we're not camping anymore. I booked us a suite at the Broadmoor instead." I'm confused as hell. What? We planned this for months. I took time off specifically for camping. We can't afford the Broadmoor. She looks at me like I'm speaking a foreign language. "Babe, we're married now. We can afford whatever we want." That sentence hit me like a punch to the gut. I check our bank account and there's $12,000 missing. Gone. When I confronted her, she got defensive immediately, started crying, saying I was being financially abusive by questioning her purchases. "I deserve nice things," she sobbed. "A good husband would want to provide for his wife." Here's the kicker. She quit her job yesterday. No discussion, no planning. "Married women shouldn't have to work if they don't want to," she announced Monday afternoon. I'm not some caveman, but we specifically planned our finances around 2 incomes. I make $85K as a project manager. Decent, but not wealthy. "You need to step up and be a real man," she tells me. "This is what marriage means. I get to focus on making a proper home while you handle the finances." That's literally the opposite of every conversation we've had about money for 2 years, I said. "People's expectations evolve," she replied. "You should be happy to take care of me." The shopping continues daily. Packages everywhere. Designer clothes, an $800 coffee machine, expensive jewelry. Yesterday she mentioned new cars. My Honda Civic is embarrassing for a married woman. I love this girl, or thought I did. But I'm starting to feel like I married a completely different person. The woman I dated was independent, worked hard, split expenses fairly. This person expects to be supported like a trophy wife while spending money we don't have. My buddies think I'm overreacting. Honeymoon phase, they say. But 12 grand in 4 days isn't excitement. It's financial destruction. I checked the credit cards this morning. Another $8,000 across 3 cards, including one I didn't even know we had. "I opened it to build our credit together," she said when I asked. "You're being paranoid." "I'm meeting with a lawyer tomorrow. This isn't the life I signed up for, and I'm starting to think she never intended to be the person she pretended to be." Edit. To everyone saying communicate first, I tried. Yesterday I sat her down for what I thought would be a rational conversation. "We need to talk about budgeting," I said. She immediately started crying. "You're being controlling. Questioning my spending means you don't love me enough to want me to be happy." Then she called her mother to complain about how mean I was being. Edit 2. Holy shit, you guys are right. Just found receipts in her car from last week. She was shopping for a $4,000 wedding dress days before our ceremony. The $800 one we bought together was apparently good enough for now. This was all planned. Update 1. I thought $20K in 4 days was bad. I was adorably naive. So after my last post, I did what I should have done years ago. Actually looked at our complete financial picture. Set up alerts, pulled credit reports, called banks. What I found made me physically nauseous. Total damage so far, $47,000. $47,000 in 1 week of marriage. Here's where it gets really fucked up. 3 of those credit cards, I never applied for them. When I called the companies, they said applications were submitted online with electronic signatures. I confronted Cassidy yesterday morning. I went in hoping for some reasonable explanation. "Did you apply for credit cards in my name?" I asked directly. Her response was to immediately break down crying and call her father. "Daddy, Dylan's being mean to me again," she sobbed into the phone. Within 2 hours, her entire family showed up at our house for an intervention. Her dad, Richard, walks into my house screaming at me. "You're financially abusing our daughter. You're trying to control her." Her brother Connor, who's 6'4" and thinks his muscles make him smart, stands behind his dad flexing. Her mom's crying about how I'm ruining their family's happiness. Meanwhile, Cassidy's in the corner playing victim. "He's trying to take away my credit cards and force me to live like a peasant," she tells them. "He called me a criminal," I asked her directly, in front of everyone. "Did you forge my signature on credit applications?" she said, and I quote, "Married people share everything. It's not forgery if we're legally one person." Her father nodded like this made perfect sense. "Son, you have 2 options. Support your wife like a man or get out of her life." I chose option 3, called the police non-emergency line right there. Turns out forging your spouse's signature for credit applications is still fraud. Marriage doesn't make identity theft legal. Who knew? The officer was straightforward. Marriage doesn't give you the right to commit financial crimes against your spouse. That's when the real fun started. Cassidy posted on Facebook about what an abusive husband I am. According to her version, I'm financially controlling, refused to let her buy necessities, and called cops on her for trying to build our credit together. Her post got shared 200 times. I'm getting messages calling me everything from a deadbeat to an abuser. Her cousin posted my work email asking people to contact my boss about my domestic abuse. My coworker John thinks I should let it go. Marriage requires compromise, he tells me. Maybe give her a monthly allowance to keep the peace. Easy for him to say. His wife isn't trying to live like she married a billionaire. The camping trip is obviously canceled. "I'm not going camping," she announced. "That's beneath me now that I'm a married woman. I'm going solo this weekend. Need to clear my head. Found a family law attorney. Consultation is Monday. Oh, and she bought a Peloton yesterday. $2,500. When I asked about it, I need to stay in shape now that I'm a wife. I have more time to focus on my health and appearance. We have a 40-month gym membership, but apparently that's beneath her too. Edit, yes. I immediately changed all passwords and contacted banks. The fraudulent applications are under investigation. Edit 2. Her brother showed up at my work around 4 p.m. Security escorted him out after he started yelling at me in the parking lot. "You better stop embarrassing my family," he threatened. This family is completely unhinged. Update 2. Remember how I said I was documenting everything? Well, I decided to fight fire with fire. After Cassidy's family spent the weekend blowing up social media calling me abusive, I realized something important. I was playing defense in a game where the other side was making up the rules. Sunday morning, I wake up to 17 missed calls from relatives asking if the Facebook posts about me being abusive were true. My own family was starting to question what was happening. So I made my own Facebook post, posted every single receipt, bank statements, credit card bills, screenshots of shopping websites, photos of packages, copies of the fraudulent credit applications, everything. The post was simple. Since there seems to be confusion about our financial situation, here's the actual documentation of our marriage so far. Draw your own conclusions. Then I tagged everyone who'd shared her original post. The response has been interesting. Half the people are now messaging me apologies. Her cousin who posted my work email actually called, "Dylan, I'm so sorry. I had no idea it was that much money." I took the post down. Turns out when you show evidence of someone spending $50,000 in 2 weeks, people start understanding your concerns. But the other half are doubling down. Her aunt commented, "Posting financial information is a violation of marriage vows," because apparently posting proof of fraud is worse than actually committing fraud. Her sorority sister wrote this long post about how marriages go through rough patches, and I should be supporting my wife through her adjustment period, instead of attacking her character online. Adjustment period. Like spending someone into bankruptcy is just a phase new wives go through. Cassidy's response was to threaten legal action for invasion of privacy. Her dad called at 6 a.m. Monday. "You've ruined her reputation and destroyed any chance of reconciliation." Good. I wasn't looking to reconcile anyway. Met with the attorney Monday. She seemed impressed by my documentation. "Most people don't think to gather evidence this thoroughly," she said. "Annulment is definitely possible given the fraud aspect and fundamental misrepresentation." Filed the police report Tuesday. The detective was matter of fact. Identity theft is identity theft, whether it's your spouse or a stranger. I keep getting asked why I'm taking it so far with criminal charges, but here's what I've figured out. If someone is willing to commit felonies against you, they've already taken it too far. Cassidy moved back with her parents Tuesday night, took all the designer purchases, left everything we'd bought together. Guess none of that stuff fit her new lifestyle anyway. Her brother Connor showed up at my apartment yesterday around 7 p.m. for round 2. This time I was ready, started recording the moment I opened the door. "Why are you destroying my family?" he demanded. "You might face consequences for embarrassing my sister like this." "Are you threatening me?" I asked. "I'm just saying you might regret posting those receipts. You humiliated her in front of everyone she knows." I let him talk for 5 minutes, then, "You know you're being recorded, right? Want to continue making threats on tape?" He left pretty quickly. Forwarded the recording to the detective and my lawyer. Apparently witness intimidation is also a crime. The best part? Some of Cassidy's own family is reaching out privately. Her aunt sent me a message about how Cassidy pulled similar behavior with her ex-boyfriend 2 years ago, ran up his credit cards, then claimed he was financially abusive when he questioned it. Another family member mentioned Cassidy had borrowed money from her grandmother repeatedly, always with sob stories, then posting Instagram photos eating at expensive restaurants. I should have done a background check on her spending habits instead of just checking if she was married before. Work has been surprisingly supportive. When Connor showed up Monday causing a scene, my boss found it entertaining. Anyone whose brother-in-law needs security to escort him off company property is probably going through some serious drama, he said, offering me extra time off. "I'm sleeping better than I have in weeks. There's something peaceful about finally accepting reality instead of fighting it. I'm not trying to understand her behavior anymore or looking for ways to fix it. She showed me who she is, and I finally believed her." Annulment paperwork gets filed next week. Detective said the fraud investigation should wrap up in the next month or two. Edit. To everyone asking about the Peloton, returned it yesterday along with everything else I could. Got about $1,500 back in returns. Store was understanding when I showed them the police report number. Edit 2. Her family is claiming I'm vindictive for pressing charges. Apparently I should have just eaten the $50K fraud and moved on like a mature adult. Final update, so I finally have some closure on this whole mess. And honestly, it's been a wild 2 weeks that taught me more about myself than I expected. Remember how I was waiting for the fraud investigation to wrap up? Well, it happened faster than anyone expected. Tuesday morning I got a call from the detective. "We're formally charging her with 3 felony counts: identity theft, credit fraud, and financial exploitation." Hearing that was surreal. I knew what she'd done was wrong, but having the legal system validate it with actual criminal charges felt like stepping out of some alternate reality I'd been living in. But here's what really hit me hard. Turns out I wasn't her only victim. The detective found evidence she'd done this exact same thing to 2 previous boyfriends over the past 4 years. Same pattern, same tactics, same justifications, he told me. Neither guy pressed charges. One paid off her debts quietly, the other is still paying off cards she opened 3 years ago. That conversation messed with my head for days. I kept thinking about how if I hadn't fought back, I probably would have just tried to pay everything off quietly too. There's something about being financially violated by someone you love that makes you want to hide it, like it's somehow your fault for trusting them. But here's where this week got really crazy. Her brother Connor escalated things in the worst way possible. Monday evening around 6 p.m., he showed up at my office building when most people had left, followed me to the parking garage and cornered me by my car. I'm not going to lie, I was scared. This guy is huge and clearly has serious anger issues. "You've ruined my sister's life," he said, stepping closer. "You need to drop all charges right now." I pulled out my phone to record him. Big mistake. He grabbed it out of my hand and shoved me against my car, hard enough that I hit my head on the doorframe. "Stop recording me," he said. "This is between you and me." What Connor didn't know is that my building has security cameras everywhere, including the parking garage. Security reviewed the footage Tuesday morning after I filed a report. They called police immediately. Connor was arrested that night for assault, destruction of property, and witness intimidation. The family's reaction to his arrest was illuminating. Suddenly they're all about letting this be handled through proper legal channels, instead of trying to intimidate me into dropping everything. Cassidy's mom called me yesterday crying. "We never thought it would go this far. We didn't realize how much money was actually involved. Cassidy told us you were being dramatic about a few shopping trips." $50,000 isn't a few shopping trips, I told her. "I know that now. I'm so sorry. This family, we created this. We raised her to believe rules didn't apply to her." That conversation made me realize something I'd been avoiding. This family created Cassidy. They raised her to believe crying and playing victim would get her out of consequences, that men existed to fund her lifestyle, that normal accountability didn't apply to her. As for where I'm at now, I moved into a new apartment last weekend. 1 bedroom downtown, walking distance to work. Costs half what the mortgage was, and I can actually afford it comfortably on my income alone. The place is small, but it's mine. No designer shopping bags scattered around, no packages arriving daily, no constant anxiety about checking bank balances. I bought a $30 coffee maker that makes perfectly good coffee. Revolutionary concept. I've been hitting the gym again for the first time in months. Turns out I have significantly more energy when I'm not constantly stressed about money disappearing or trying to rationalize someone else's insane behavior. My coworker John finally came around. "My wife said if anyone spent our life savings without permission, she'd press charges too. You did the right thing. The divorce paperwork should be finalized next month." Cassidy's lawyer tried pushing for alimony, which was honestly hilarious. My lawyer just sent over copies of the criminal charges, and that conversation ended quickly. Social media has been interesting. About half the people who originally called me abusive have quietly deleted their posts or sent private apologies. The other half are still doubling down, claiming I'm vindictive for not handling it privately. But here's what I've learned. There is no handling fraud privately. That's not how crime works. And anyone who thinks you should just absorb criminal behavior to keep the peace has probably never been victimized this way. Court date is next month for the criminal charges. My lawyer says the evidence is overwhelming and she'll probably take a plea deal rather than go to trial. The thing that keeps surprising people is how much better I'm doing. Yeah, this whole situation sucked massively, but it taught me something important about myself. I'm not the kind of person who's going to absorb abuse quietly to keep the peace. When she showed me who she really was through her actions, I finally believed her the first time instead of making excuses for months. The camping trip to Colorado was incredible, by the way. Went solo like I'd planned, hiked for 4 days, remembered what it felt like to be in my own head without constant financial anxiety and drama. But the best part of all this, I know now what I will and won't accept in a relationship. I know the difference between normal challenges and fundamental character problems. I know that love doesn't mean accepting criminal behavior, and partnership doesn't mean one person funding another person's fantasy lifestyle. Next time I'm in a serious relationship, I'll pay attention to how they handle money, how they treat service workers, how they respond when they don't get their way, because this experience taught me that people can hide a lot during dating, but financial stress reveals who someone really is. The right person won't make you feel like you need to constantly prove your worth or absorb their bad behavior to keep them around. Edit. For everyone asking about money recovery, credit card companies are reversing most fraudulent charges, about 80% of it. The cash is gone forever, but that's what emergency funds are for. Expensive lesson learned early. Edit 2. No, I'm not interested in working things out if she takes a plea deal. Some bridges need to be burned completely. I'm building something better now.